What is going on, guys? We are back here today with another competitive video. This is a very special video, a complete fan favorite. We're going to be talking about the most underrated Pokemon in OU. So the 10 are right there, as you can see. Hacked my showdown, so I can put 10 Pokemon there. But yes, I have more thorough breakdowns of each Pokemon, showing movesets, stuff like that, as well as replays where all these Pokemon shine. So let's just get right into it. So the first Pokemon we got here is Reuniclus. Now, Reuniclus, personally, I'm not even that big of a fan of this Pokemon. But I do think it's a pretty underrated pick in OU. The reason I don't like using it is because I think a lot of the times I end up getting hit. Like, I end up just getting crit trying to set up and stuff like that. So maybe I'm just a little superstitious. But in general, this is the set you're going to see from Reuniclus most of the time. Calm Mind, Recover, Psyshock, and Acid Armor. Acid Armor is always used in combination with Toxic Spikes from Toxapex. That way, stuff like Tyranitar, Greninja that would normally wall Reuniclus is able to take residual toxic damage and get walled by Reuniclus. This set, if it has T-Spikes up and it's able to muscle past those dark types, can be really hard for teams to beat, and in some cases just completely 6-0's offense. Like, a lot of the time you can run into an offense that looks like, you know, Landorus, Magearna, Mawile, like Gladio. Like, they have all these big threats, but if Reuniclus gets up a Calm Mind and an Acid Armor, it just walls all the Pokemon on the field, because pure Psychic typing is pretty good for the most part as well. It's only weak to like 3 other types, so if you're boosting your Fizdef and your Spadef, it's really hard to break the Reuniclus. So in a lot of matchups, Reuniclus can just be kind of like an auto-win condition. So I understand why people like to use it, but in general, I just get afraid of getting hacked by Greninja, stuff like that. I don't know. So that's the reason I don't use it too much, and that's why I don't really have a replay with it either, because I don't have too many games with this thing. Other sets you can run, and sets I've had success with besides Rocky Helmet, are I've run Phytinium Z. What is it? Phytinium Z, right? With Focus Blast here. So the reason I like this set a lot as well is because Reuniclus is then able to sponge a lot of different Pokemon's knockoffs a lot easier, because you know, the Z Crystal will buffer knockoffs full power. So I like that a lot, as well as Z Fighting being able to take out a lot of different Pokemon. Like, you're able to nuke T-Tar. So like, if you're able to hit T-Tar on the switch, you usually kill it if it's not Chopple or Assault Vest, or at +1 you might even be able to take out Assault Vest variants. You're also able to cook Ferrothorn, stuff like that. It's just a nice solid hit on a lot of Pokemon. Like, I remember one battle I won because I hit a Z Focus Blast on the switch to Hydreigon, and regular Focus Blast wouldn't have killed because I didn't have any special attacks. So in a lot of cases, it's nice. It stops you from getting knocked off, stuff like that. It's just, in general, it's a cool set. And this one I've had a lot of success with as well. This one actually more so than Rocky Helmet. I prefer this one, but either way, yep, this is basically Reuniclus, Calm Mind. Offensive Trick Room is probably not worth running. That's what I would recommend. Yeah, you're better off running a better Psychic type offensively, like Alakazam or Latios. Reuniclus is better for just Calm Mind, Recover, on like fatter builds. But yeah, so we got Reuniclus on the lower end of the spectrum. I actually got a couple other Pokemon that I put in the same tier as Reuniclus. The next one being Hippowdon. So yes, another bulkier Pokemon. Hippowdon is another Pokemon that I don't use too much, but I value it because of what it can do for sand teams, meaning it can pair with Excadrill and give that thing some sand turns. And it's actually a pretty decent wall in general. It's able to take a lot of physically offensive Pokemon on, like Garchomp and Landorus, which are an all-time high, Mawile, stuff like that. So this is usually the set I run. If I were to run Hippowdon, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Slack Off, Toxic, you're going to run Whirlwind. I don't think there's any real need for Stone Edge in this metagame. But yeah, this is basically what you could run. You could run Whirlwind as well. And I just run physically defensive here. I have seen another set that has seen some use in tournament where the Hippowdon has a decent amount of speed and a jolly nature. Now that might sound crazy, and to me it is kind of crazy, but the reason that this set has seen usage is because it's able to outspeed Mawile. So you can switch into Mawile, make them take chip from your Rocky Helmet, and then your Slack Off is faster. So then the Mawile just can't beat you, because they'll die to Earthquake, and if they stay in to keep attacking you, then they'll die to your helmet eventually. So that's a pretty interesting tech set, but I'm pretty sure the Fizdev version can already usually avoid the 2-hit KO. Either way, Hippowdon's pretty standard. It's done the same thing for 3 gens now. Gets up rocks, gets up sand, sits there, you fail to kill it, and that's really what it be doing. But yeah, I value Hippowdon for what it can do for sand. You can pair it with Mega Chomp, Excadrill, stuff like that, and kind of go with either, like, you can put Hippowdon on like a very fat build, or you can just have it as like a fat pivot mon on a sand offense or something like that. Personally, I don't use Hippowdon too much. I don't like the way it like loses momentum on a team. Yeah, I just find it very lacking. I'd rather always use something like Landorus T, which would have less defense but would give me more offensive momentum and stuff like that, and just be able to like like carry more roles, I guess. Hippowdon is kind of forced to just have this role of setting up Stealth Rocks. But yeah, so Hippowdon is down here in this tier with Reuniclus as well. We got 2 more in this little lowerish tier before I get into the big offensive threats. So Slowbro, another Pokemon that, you know, carries a defensive role. I have only used Mega Slowbro. I have not used regular Slowbro, so I cannot comment on it, but I do not think it's that good relative to using something like Slowbro, or I mean relative to using something like Tapu Fini or Toxapex. I think regular Slowbro is certainly outclassed by those two. However, Mega Slowbro I've had some good experience with lately, laddering with and stuff like that. And from what I can say about this thing is that it's pretty good at checking a lot of physical threats, ground types in particular. Scald, Ice Beam, Psychic is actually pretty strong too, because Slowbro has 130 base special attack, as you guys can see, and the defense is 180. It's incredibly high. You're able to check all the new ground types like SD Garchomp, which is on the rise, Oko, that thing with Ice Beam, take care of Landorus, Excadrill. It's pretty nice in general. This thing can also take on Heatran to some extent if he doesn't have Toxic. Psychic is nice for hitting Toxapex, so in general, Slowbro has actually been pretty good for me. Mega Latios, for example, is also running around a lot more, and they usually run Psychic, Earthquake, Ice Beam. They don't really run Draco Meteor as much, so you're able to apply pressure with Ice Beam. In general, Slowbro has been pretty good for me. I'm a pretty decent fan of this. The team I was running with this, where was it? Okay, so I had 2 teams. This one, the Zydog team, and I think I was running the set with Flamethrower this time to snipe Ferrothorn and stuff like that. But Slowbro is also pretty good versus defensive stuff, because you're able to swap into Celesteela pretty easily, threaten that thing with Scald Burn, threaten Toxapex with Psychic, and it made for a nice Fire Water Grass Core with Heatran and Tapu Bulu, as you can see right here. So this is just some kind of inspiration of how you could run a Slowbro team. Anyway, let's get to the next Pokemon, Gengar. Now, Gengar has kind of fallen from grace, man. It's crazy, because Gengar, you know, that thing was always a top tier OU threat, and I mean, it's still in, you know, it's still able to be used in OU, but, you know, it has really lost some sauce lately, but no worries, let's get into it. So, here are the 2 sets that I have ran Gengar with in the past. Choice Specs with these 3 moves and Trick. Basically gets the most utility out of Gengar. You'll probably do the most wall breaking with this. Another set I used was Hex over Shadow Ball, and I had Will-O-Wisp status support on the team, so you can get off a very strong Hex on a lot of Pokemon, but this one is definitely more consistent in case you're not able to status Pokemon, because then your Hex is just a little bit weaker. But yeah, this set is great. Gengar's Dual Stab is amazing now that Poison is so powerful thanks to Fairy being on the crazy rise. Gengar also has really good immunities with Ghost type and good resist, so in general it's kind of nice to have. Like, it can be really nice. Gengar used to be the Pokemon that was like one of the most horrible to play. It was especially back in the day when it had Levitate, because like Gengar was the most, if you played a tryhard with Gengar, it was really hard to play it, because it had so many immunities. It's able to switch into so many Pokemon despite being so frail. And then back then it used to go for sub and disable and all that stuff, but nowadays you really just see this like all out attacking, like just get as much damage as you can, because Gengar's Dual Stab is really good. But yeah, this is for the most part the set I would run. Now, variations, if you don't want to run Choice, I have ran this set with Electrium Z. I ran this with Tapu Koko, so you could boost the Electrium Z. But I really like this set because you're able to Oko, Toxapex, and Celesteela. Guaranteed if terrain's up, but even without terrain, I'm pretty sure this does like a ton. So maybe with rocks and a little bit of chip, you'll be able to knock them out. But yeah, you're able to snipe those 2, which are pretty common switches to Gengar. You can run different Z moves on Gengar as well. You could probably run Ghostium Z or Fightinium Z, but in general, this is the one I've had the most success with and the experience with. So I would definitely recommend this set if you want to put a little twist on Gengar. You don't only have to run Choice. I don't think Scarf is that good in the current meta. There's a lot of there's just a lot of Pokemon out there that are able to sponge Scarf Gengar's attacks really easily. Like even AV Tangrowth is able to switch in really easily, because if you don't Sludge Wave, you're not doing any damage, and Sludge Wave also doesn't do too much. Not to mention there's so much pursuit with Tyranitar on the rise and stuff like that, which is definitely a reason Gengar has dropped in usage to begin with, and its spec set, because its spec set used to be the best set, and then a lot of dark type stuff started jumping up, like T-Tar and Pursuit, and so its usage went down a little bit. But in general, Gengar's still a potent offensive threat and definitely worth considering when building a team. So with that, let's get into the upper echelon, the top 6 Pokemon. These are in order now, how I see them fit. So the first one is Mamoswine. So I got to replay with this as well, but yeah, Mamoswine, this is a set you're most likely going to see. Mamoswine's pretty good, man. Ice types have always been underrated. Ice types are held back by the horrible defensive capabilities of ice typing, but they shine because ice typing is so amazing offensively, and you're able to run through so many teams with ice coverage. A lot of times teams just don't have sturdy ice resists, and the problem with that is because the Pokemon that resist ice for the most part are weak to ground or neutral by ground, and then all ice types, almost all ice types have a good ground coverage, and Mamoswine has a blessing typing. Ice ground with thick fat is just really nice, which lets it like check other ice types as well, which is funny. Well, this is the set that I have run with Mamoswine: Earthquake, Knockoff, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard with Metronome. Metronome is nice because it allows you to spam Icicle Crash on stuff like Clefable, Chansey, bulkier builds like that, Skarmory maybe, and then you get more high-powered Icicle Crash and Ice Shard. Lets you also muscle through Celesteela on the switch. If you hit them, then they protect. Then you get, like, you know, you're racking up Metronome boost, and you can get rid of that thing. Knockoff is just utility. And then Earthquake, you know, stab. This thing is able to knock out Toxapex, stuff like that. Mamoswine in general, the reason I think it's pretty underrated and good is because it's able to really threaten fire, water, grass cores like Heatran, Landorus, Tornadus, Tapu Bulu, Magearna, all those top tier threats, Toxapex, stuff like that. Like, they all get just shredded by Mamoswine. So in general, this thing can pull its weight in a lot of matchups. So here's a replay I have where it pulls its weight to like the utmost degree. So wait, hold on, let me zoom this in. So, ooh, wait, I gotta get rid of my sub goal. Okay, but anyway, yes, so here we have a SPL replay from about a year ago, but this basically showcases how Mamoswine was able to take on Stall with Metronome. As you can see, normally it would be able to be checked, I guess, by Clefable. I mean, in general, Mamoswine has a pretty decent matchup versus this team, but let me see when the Mamoswine gets in. So the Mamoswine gets in right here, gets up the rocks, because it's able to threaten, what's it called, Sableye. Yeah, I gotta wait a little bit because I mean this is a stall match, but he gets up the Gravity with Landers, so this team was definitely geared towards beating bulkier teams. But Mamoswine comes in here now. We see an Earthquake, Zapdos comes in. I guess he has to sack that at this point. Clefable comes in right here. We see an Icicle Crash right here. See another one, crits him again actually. Okay, maybe this isn't the best replay, but what I'm trying to convey is that Mamoswine, I mean, I guess it's a good replay in the sense that he doesn't have anything to take on Mamoswine. He misses Icicle Crash, so he switches to not get toxic, but in general, he can just continue to bring this thing in. He goes for the Icicle Crash here. I think he's going to go for it again. Now, as you can see, it does a little bit more because of the Metronome. He flinches with the high flinch rate, and then at that point, the game is done to Mamoswine. Mamoswine had a good matchup in general versus the stall, but it could have gone the exact same way even if he had something like a Skarmory, because that thing would have ever had Rocky Helmet, and even if it had leftovers something, Mamoswine could have knocked that off and then, you know, put on constant pressure with Icicle Crash. On top of that, Mamoswine is one of the rockers that's actually able to threaten Sableye, so Sableye is pretty resistant to, like, or that's pretty hesitant to want to come in on a Mamoswine in fears of taking Earthquake or Icicle Crash. So that's why I had Mamoswine up here. It's a good pick. Ice typing in general has always been amazing, so definitely something worth considering. Let's move on to the next Pokemon, which is also an Ice type. Unfortunately, it is superior to Mamoswine. For all you haters out there, I hope there's no haters out there. I hope everyone acknowledges that Glalie is one of the GOAT Pokemon. So I have been gassed on Glalie for more than a year when CTC first made me that Glalie offense team. Brought to SPL, had a good time with it, laddered so much with this Pokemon. I've had a lot of experience with this, and honestly I think it's an amazing pick and very underrated in today's metagame. It was underrated back then, it's underrated now. So this thing is basically a rip-off of Mamoswine. You basically steal its coverage, Ice and Earthquake, but I like Glalie a lot because what you trade for Mamoswine's Ice Shard, you trade with Spike's priority. I mean, not Spike's priority. You trade Mamoswine's priority with Glalie's support via Spikes. On top of that, Glalie is also faster, has a very good attack, and in some cases is stronger than Mamoswine thanks to what's it called, Refrigerate. So in general, it just has superior stats to Mamoswine, which is another reason I like it. The speed's very nice, and Return is an insanely strong stab. So Glalie, again, I really like its potential in wall breaking. The only thing that's really a consistent counter to Glalie is something like Scizor, and if they have to switch to Scizor every time, you can take advantage of that by getting up Spikes, so it's not the end of the world. That's another reason I like Glalie. If you run into a Pokemon that does wall it, at the very least, it can get up Spikes, so it's not a big deal. At least it's supporting the team in some way. But yup, ground and ice coverage, as always, is amazing. You're able to completely take out stuff like Tangrowth, Heatran, Tapu Bulu. You're able to threaten Tornadus, which I really like, with Return, so that thing is not just freely defogging on your Spikes. And in general, Explosion is the real treat because you're able to explode on the bulkiest of Pokemons like Ferrothorn and Celesteela. Just get them shits out of here. It's amazing. So the replay I have is one that, you know, you guys might remember. Of course, I've laddered with this thing so much, but this is from SPL, the last SPL. I brought this team, and I was playing a rain team, and Glalie really did a lot of work. As you can see, this guy's team is not too good versus Glalie. Magearna can't take Earthquake, Ferrothorn takes a decent amount from Return, Greninja gets 2 KO'd by Return, and then the other 3 get smashed by Return as well. So in general, I get my thing in immediately. I automatically go for a spike. That was a misplay, by the way. I should have just gone for a return, but it's fine. Let's see. I bring in Glalie. When do I get in Glalie? Right here. I U-turn into Glalie here. He hurricanes me here because Glalie is such a threat. I'm able to return, knock out the Torn, which is nice. Just showing that he didn't have anything to switch into, so he basically had to stay in with Torn at that point. Greninja comes in. I pivot into my Tapu Fini on the Surf, and then I pivot out. I think I double switch right here. Back into my Glalie on his Pelipper, yeah. And now here I'm able to sacrifice my Glalie at a low HP to go for the explosion as he just stays in with Pelipper, so I'm able to take away the rain with that. So yup, Glalie was able to get 2 kills and a spike up and knock out his rain setter, which was pretty nice. But in general, Glalie is able to really take on those fire, water, grass teams as well, and definitely something you guys should consider using. Spikes is always amazing support for any team. It can help a sweeper in the back. As you can see here, I had a shift gear Magearna and Hawlucha in the back, so spike support would have been nice. And yeah, definitely a viable pick is something to consider. I feel like I don't see people running it enough, but yeah, you can go back and see my old videos as well. I've had lives where I've used Glalie. I've used this thing like maybe on like 50 battles on my channel before, but yup, shouts to Glalie, one of my favorites forever. Let's move on to the next Pokemon. So here we have Big Crawdaunt. Now, Crawdaunt is another Pokemon that I'm very impressed with, and that's mainly because similar to Greninja, only needing water and dark coverage, Crawdaunt only needs water and dark coverage, and it also has priority. I mean, this thing is basically physical Greninja, which is funny. They're both super frail, and they're both super strong. And, I mean, it just hits from the physical side, but yeah, Crawdaunt is really able to get a lot of kills in the metagame. Not too much is able to resist this dual coverage besides, like, Tapu Fini and Bulu, and at the very least, Crawdaunt at least is able to cripple the Pokemon that want to switch into it with a strong knockoff, and that's very valuable. So yeah, Crawdaunt has done the same thing since it got adaptability, which is run these 4 moves and Choice Band. But hey, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. This set is excellent. I run Adamant because I want all the power I can get behind my Aqua Jet, and in general this thing is pretty damn strong. Like Aqua Jet, for example, I saw do like 40-45% to a Magearna that was shift gear. I was like, damn, that's huge damage. Basically, if you don't resist this thing's attacks, it's very rare that you're gonna live it. Even stuff like Ferrothorn be taking 80%. And in general, I value Crawdaunt because it's able to absolutely obliterate like the Clefable, Celesteela, Toxapex, Ferrothorn, Fat Cores, and here's a replay I have. So versus this guy, he actually has a pretty threatening offense, but you'll see that Crawdaunt is regardless able to put in a decent amount of work. So let's hop right into this. So yeah, right at the matchup, I realized that Landorus cannot OHKO Crawdaunt and neither can Toxapex, so that's going to be my way of getting a kill. So lead off of Ferrothorn, Godlies, you know what it is. Get out my rocks. He kills me with Magnezone. I go into the Clown and then switch to Landorus, trying to bait Z Electric, Earthquake, and then he kills me with Z Steel. Oh, I look like a clown. I tried to bait the wrong move. I then go into this, knock him out. He knocks me out, and then I bring in Crawdaunt finally. I go for knockoff as he brings in Greninja. That thing comes in at 72%, but man, you're not about to eat up a Choice Banded knockoff. That shit is way too strong. He goes into Lele here as I am just going to sack who? He goes into Landorus here as I go to who? I'm pretty sure I sacked Lopunny. Yeah, but he break the Magearna. Fake out here, knock that thing out, go for return as he goes into Toxapex and just spams recover. I realized that and I bring in my Crawdaunt accordingly as he goes for Toxic, but I can go for Crunch, not even knockoff, and as you can see, it does an insane amount of damage. Still 70%. That's the thing, if you don't resist Crawdaunt's moves, and it's very hard to because Water Dark is excellent coverage, it's very unlikely you're going to survive its attacks. And so here, even though I was playing a decently offensive team, both of his Pokemon that failed to OHKO Crawdaunt, the other 4 could OHKO Crawdaunt, but these 2 couldn't do it, and Crawdaunt was able to force a kill twice because of that, which was awesome. So Crawdaunt definitely pulled its weight, and then from here I just win with Magearna because that that mon's broken. But yeah, Crawdaunt in general, it only uses these 4 moves, and regardless, it's amazing. I don't really see the need to run any Dragon Dance set. That thing is extremely slow even after a Dragon Dance. I definitely saved that and not use that at all. But Choice Banded, very excellent as always. You play aggressive with this thing, or you just bring a nice Volt Turn team to get some free switches, and you'll always get a lot of mileage out of Crawdaunt. So let's move on. Kyurem normal. So I'm actually a pretty big fan of this thing, but I was a non-believer at first just because, I don't know, it just didn't seem that good and it seemed weaker compared to a lot of other Pokemon you can run. But the reason I'm convinced is, again, as you can see, the last 3 have been Ice types. You're seeing a trend here, and they all use Mamoswine's coverage of Ice Ground. So really the whole thing is that if you want to take something from this video, Ice types are so good offensively, and Ice Ground is godlike coverage that they all are just decent in OU by virtue of having this coverage. But Kyurem runs a pretty nice role here with Sub Roost, Ice Beam, Earth Power with Pressure, and Metronome. So Kyurem is able to threaten a lot of bulkier teams with this set. A lot of these teams can't break its sub. Think about stuff like Pex, Tangrowth, just Pokemon with Seismic Toss because this thing has 405 HP. In general, this set can obliterate Stall too because Metronome allows you to keep getting boosts with your Ice Beam or Earth Power as you're spamming them. On top of that, they have a freeze chance, so a lot of time Kyurem really shreds bulkier teams with this set. You can run leftovers as well if you want recovery, but I've found more success with Metronome because you're able to actually kill things. You can also run Z Ice Beam, the Ice Z move, and you know, you can use it to nuke. I saw that in SPL, a guy used it to Oko a Swampert, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is the main set. Let me just hop into the replay showcasing. So this actually isn't my game. This is Empo versus Use. I don't know what this was for. I think it was for a tournament, but in general, this game I saw way back. I think I was gonna steal Empo's team because the Kyurem just goes crazy. So looking at the matchup immediately, you can see Use as a basic offense, like a pretty standard offense. Basically the picks you'd see: Tangrowth, Torn, the pivots, Magearna Sweeper, and then Chomp for rocks, and then Lele and Grand, nice breaking. But yeah, Kyurem is actually a pretty big threat. You can see this man has 3 Ice Weaks, Magearna's weak to Earth Power, Greninja gets folded by 2 Earth Powers, and Lele takes a decent amount from Ice Beam. So in general, Kyurem is a pretty good threat with its coverage. And as you can see from this replay, that thing's going to do a lot of work. So Empo leads off with Celesteela. This guy doubles into Torn as Empo doubles right into Kyurem, predicting the Torn to come in. And he already gets started with it right here. He Ice Beams into Gren just to get the necessary chip for next time. Spike up, we see a T-Spike. T-Spike, of course, very nice with Kyurem when it's sub-roosting around. Hurricanes, blah, 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 blah. When does Kyurem come back in? Let's see, when does Kyurem come back in? I gotta find that out. Where's this shit coming in? Didn't this thing come back in? Okay, it subs right here. Okay, I guess it didn't do as much as I thought. But I guess Empo had a great matchup regardless. But you could see Kyurem is able to stall out the last 3 Pokemon because it completely walls Tangrowth. They know he knows Magearna is going to die to Earth Power, and Greninja, of course, is going to die to Earth Power Ice Beam as well. But we can just say that Garchomp was also not able to break this thing sub, assuming it was Dragon Tail, and I think it was Helmet Dragon Tail. Tornadus is also not able to deal with Kyurem. It can't 2-hit KO this thing. And so in general, this thing's natural bulk is really nice in combination with Sub Roost. But here he ends up killing off the Tangrowth finally. And then in comes the Greninja, which he's able to kill with Ice Beam, right? Yeah, he Earth Powers that thing. And then, as you can see, Empo has a surprise tech. He had the Z Ground Earth Power. Goes for it here to confirm the kill on the Magearna. So that's just a little spicy tech. You know what it is. But yeah, Kyurem is still a pretty decent threat. It can play a bulkier support role, but it can also go very offensive and just sweep through a team as well. Sometimes you don't even have to worry about going for sub roost. You can just spam its attacks, but definitely a viable pick and worth considering. So now that I got those 3 ice types out the way, let's get to the next 2 Pokemon that also share the same type. So we got the first one, my man, Hydreigon the Dragon. You know what it is. I'm a huge fan of this Pokemon, and I have used it in a lot of different videos actually. Mainly I've used the spec set, but this is the set that sees more usage today. This is the Dark Z set with Defog, Roost, Earth Power, and Dark Pulse. So yeah, this set is kind of nice because you're able to defog on stuff like Heatran and Ferrothorn and then roost off all their damage. And then on top of that, you're able to threaten with Dark Pulse, Earth Power coverage, which is decent. I don't really like running defog on Hydreigon personally. I just acknowledge that this is a possible set. I would like running Flash Cannon myself because you're able to, you know, hit Clefable, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, stuff like that. But in general, I don't like this set as much as specs. I think it's very weak, and if you pop your Dark Z too early, then you have a lot of trouble killing things. I would say Metronome Hydreigon could maybe be viable because you can spam Dark Pulse, but in general, I'm not the biggest fan of this set. But it is pretty nice, the ability to switch up moves and the ability to recover with Roost, obviously, because Hydreigon does have pretty good defenses, as you guys can see. 92, 90, 90 is pretty solid. The speed and special attack are also great. So you can stick around a little bit in a match. You know, you can Roost up on even Tornadus and stuff like that. Stick around for a match, put on some good damage. But this is a set I have had the most success with, which is Specs. Yeah, I just like double switching into this thing and getting off a lot of hits, getting off a lot of kills. This thing reminds me of Greninja, and it's really strong, as you can see, with Modest max special attack. I run Modest because I'm greedy. I want all the power in the world. But yeah, with Modest, you're able to really spam Dark Pulse against these teams that don't really have a sturdy resist. I'm pretty sure Dark Pulse has a chance to 2-hit KO Tapu Koko, which is just an insane roll. So a lot of these offense teams that rely on like a Tapu Bulu or Tapu Koko to defend against Hydreigon can fold really easily, especially because Tapu Bulu gets obliterated by Fire Blast or Flash Cannon, so like it's not even an issue. In the past, I have run Earth Power as well, which is able to hit Pex harder and Heatran, but I like Dark Pulse more these days because you're able to just hit, you're able to just flinch those things, honestly. And if you hit them neutral, you're already, you know, in a good position if, you know, you got prior chip. But here's a replay I have showing me using Hydreigon. This is the only Hydreigon team I had at the time, my Seismitoad team, but this team's pretty good. So as you can see, my opponent Avon, I think this game was just for fun. It was a long time ago too, yeah, back in September. But yeah, looking at this, you can see his team versus Hydreigon. He has AV Tangrowth and Tran as his best ways to take it on, but he has 2 Psychic types which will die to Dark Pulse. Landorus, which takes a lot from Dark Pulse, dies to Draco. Greninja which dies to Draco, so I knew if I played my Hydreigon smart, I could get a lot of mileage out of it. So let's just hop right into it. He leads off with Lando T as I lead off with Toad, because I saw Toad got free rocks. But yeah, Protect on the Sky Strike, going to Celesteela, he goes into Heatran, pivot Seismitoad. Pivot to Seismitoad and then double into my Heatran, knowing that he's going to bring in Reuniclus because it walls. Now here, I'm able to go for the Draco, right? I think I go for Draco. Yeah, I go for Draco, and I do 67 to AV Tangrowth, which is ridiculous damage. I now know next time that he's going to have trouble bringing that thing in. Double into my Lopunny as he goes Reuniclus. I fake out here. Switching to Hydreigon hard switch. Damn, I'm hot. As he goes for Psychic. Now here, I go for the Draco again. The reason being is because I knew he would think I would Dark Pulse into Tangrowth, but I just Draco again because I know he's not going to go Heatran on Dark Pulse. Knockout Greninja, so already Hydreigon's putting in big work. Double into Seismitoad, he goes back into Tangrowth. Do I double out again? No, Earthquake. Switching to Lopunny. And then Hydreigon here on Reuniclus again. I'm able to go for a free Dark Pulse. You can see the insane damage it does to Heatran. It's a clean 2-hit KO with the Rocks chip because Spax Modest is crazy strong. That was probably a max HP defensive Heatran, and I'm able to do so much. I still keep my Hydreigon. That thing has already put in so much work. I bring in Hydreigon here, but he roosted. When do I bring it back in? Because I know I get another kill with it. I bring it in here as he doubled into Latias. Is that it? Did I not bring it in again? Let's see. I'm pretty sure I bring it in again though. When do I bring it in? Come on, Hydreigon, come in here. When does this thing come in, man? Either way, you guys understand the point. Okay, I don't think it's coming back in, but yeah. Either way, you understand how much work Hydreigon did. It was able to get like 3 kills, able to put on a whole lot of pressure, be able to basically scare out the Psychic types each time. And it cleared the way for my other guys to win at the end of the day. So Hydreigon in general is good because Dark type Pokemon in general are good because Dark moves are amazing. Dark Pulse in particular, it's like a little Greninja. You trade off the speed and priority and power. You don't trade off too much power, but you trade off a little bit of power. But you trade that off for bulkier, better typing, and then a better, like, its defensive capabilities are just superior. But yeah, Hydreigon definitely worth a look at. And let's get into the last Pokemon, my favorite, Kommo-o. Yes, some of you could have predicted this, the way I'd be talking and just gushing over this Pokemon in all my videos lately. I love this thing so much. It's so good. I don't know how this thing does not see more usage. I mean, I know it's banned from UU, so it can only see usage in OU, but it's still not used enough considering how great it is. But let's just hop right into this thing, man. I love this beautiful Pokemon. So the 2 sets I'll be running the most are Stealth Rock plus Z Clanging Scales and then 2 other attacks. So I run either this set with physical attack investment and close combat and poison jab, so you're stressing the physical moves that you're able to hit stuff like Magearna harder with CC and just you know, make use of your fighting type stab. And I've also used this set, which is the one I used in SPL. This one was the more specially oriented one, as you can see, we're max special attack, to make use of the dragon stab and then flamethrower coverage, and then close combat was just there to knock out Chansey and shit like that. And then the third set you can run is Sub Belly Drum. I don't think Dragon Dance is that good, but Sub Belly Drum sees the most usage behind dual screens teams. It's pretty decent, to be honest. Drain Punch lets you recover a lot of HP. Kommo-o has really good defenses in general, so it's a pretty nice Pokemon, and Drain Punch Poison Jab is nice coverage. But in general, I do love the Z-move Stealth Rock set the most. The reason being is because this thing can work as a very nice wall breaker while also giving invaluable support in terms of Stealth Rock. Having an offensive Pokemon that can get up Stealth Rock is amazing because the ones we have right now are stuff like Garchomp, Heatran. This is like kind of like Garchomp to me. But sometimes it's even better than Garchomp because you can boost your sweep, you can boost your speed and kind of go on a mini sweep. I've had so many games where Kommo-o, I'm thinking just get up rocks, and then it goes on a mini rampage because the coverage is great. And then if you get +1, getting a +1 to every stat from Clanging Scales is so busted. Like, this thing is nice. And yeah, these are basically the 3 sets I run the most, but definitely these 2 the most. And here's the replay, my favorite one. This is also from SPL. This is basically where Kommo-o shined the most for me. So yeah, this is from SPL. I played this guy Stall with my Kommo-o, but I was able to put in a lot of work. This is the guy who won my tour, by the way. But yeah, shout outs. So anyway, Straight off the bat, I doubled into my, because I knew the matchup was bad because I was playing stall, and I knew the only way I could win was breaking with Kommo-o or drill. So straight off the bat, I double into my Kommo-o, predicting his hippo because I want to put up rocks. I get him up right here as he brings in Toxapex. Here I go for Clanging Scales. I get a crit, which is kind of lucky for me because now I know that my Z will kill him, and he knows that as well, so he pivots into Chansey, but I predict that, so I'm able to go for a CC on the switch and already get off some good chip and kind of start breaking with Kommo-o a bit. But he goes into Torn here. I don't CC, but eventually I bring the thing back in. When do I bring it back in? Right here. I bring it in, I get my rocks up, go for the Z Clanging Scale, get all my boosts. Clanging Scales again, knock out the Chansey this time. He copies me, so I got to get out of there. Yup, get a little chip damage. Bring in my Kommo-o here. I go for Clanging Scales on the switch to Toxapex, do a decent amount of damage. I scare out the Scizor with the threat of Flamethrower, so I made a good prediction there. He then is forced to sack his Ditto, so Kommo-o in general is just getting off a lot of nice hits. With its coverage, he's not really able to switch into it too well. He goes in Toxapex again. I think I go for Clanging Scales again, hoping it kills, but it doesn't. But at that point, I set the stage for my drill to sweep, and I'm going to be able to because Kommo-o was able to basically knock out a lot of his Pokemon, including Ditto, which was like the biggest threat. But yeah, you can go back to my videos where my PS lives where I've played with Kommo-o. There's a lot of random offenses I've just 6-0'd by clicking Clanging Scales, and then they look at their team and they're like, oh shit, I can't kill it, because the natural bulk is really nice. And you also got to consider that Kommo-o is able to resist a lot of Pokemon's types, like Kartana going for Leaf Blade, Ash Greninja, it resists that dual stab, resists Tapu Bulu stab, stuff like that, so it's pretty nice defensively. But yeah, guys, these are the top 10 Pokemon that I really value, that are like not in OU and can work in OU. So yeah, definitely try these Pokemon out. A lot of fun. Let me know what you guys thought of this video in the comments below, what other types of competitive videos you guys like to see. Give this video a like, subscribe, all that good shit, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.